Welcome to the Raising the Bar podcast, where we storytell excellence in Queensland property. I'm your host, George Souris from Empire Legal. Hey guys, I'm here with Michael Bacon from Kangaroo Point. Hey Michael.
Hello George.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for inviting me. Love it.
So, fun fact, Michael Bacon has been in the real estate game since the age of 17.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Raising the Bar, where we storytell excellence through Queensland property. You haven't really been given much of a brief, Michael, so a lot of this is going to be off the cuff.
I love it. Yeah, authentic.
The whole point of what we're doing here is we truly believe there's a lot of cowboys in the industry, right? Not only in real estate world, but also in conveyancing world.
Yep.
And we want to bring actual value to the listeners to raise the bar quite literally on the standard of work that gets put out.
Yep.
So, making sure that the people you're engaging are masters of their craft. And we're promoting excellence through storytelling, and we think you're pretty excellent. So thanks for coming on the show, mate.
No, looking forward to it. I think it's great that someone's doing this because I haven't seen anything that specific in the industry that we're in. So I'm looking forward to seeing what people you bring on as well.
Yep, and what value we can add.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, look, let's start with maybe how you began in real estate. From what I understand, mate, you were selling units in Kangaroo Point, sub $500,000?
Yep.
Yep, to, we blinked, and I remember being at an auction that you were at that resulted in a $12.5 million sale.
Yeah.
How did you get from 17-year-old Michael Bacon selling units in KP to, one of the biggest agents in the city on the map for prestige property?
Yeah, it's interesting actually recapping that now too, because I remember back when I was 17, again, I didn't grow up in Brisbane. I had no knowledge in Brisbane, especially in property. So even going from Kangaroo Point, where I was previously at Nunda on the north side in Brisbane, and then going into Kangaroo Point.
Okay, so you were selling real estate before Kangaroo Point in Nunda.
Correct.
Okay, yep.
And that sort of precinct, and going from houses to apartments. I didn't even know what an apartment was. I didn't know what a body corporate disclosure was.
True, so you'd never sold a unit?
Never sold a unit.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So huge learning curve there.
It was like a 50-minute drive, when realistically you jump in the toll, it's like 10 minutes from
Oh, wow.
Like I was very new.
Yeah.
And not coming from Brisbane because I grew up in Central Queensland. It was a big shift from a country to a massive city.
Did you move to Brizzy for work?
Yep.
For real estate?
So I started in real estate in Yeppoon.
Okay.
I was there for about 6 months after school.
Yep.
Then got offered a job in Brizzy, had $240 in my bank account, and moved a week after I got offered a job at in Place Nunda.
Wow, so you'd no friends, no family,
Nothing.
Just I'm moving to Brizzy to be a real estate agent.
Yeah.
Why real estate?
I think I've always had an interest in it, but I think the biggest thing for me is I've always been creative.
Yep.
And it's also, I was going to do a Bachelor of Design and stuff in school, but I just didn't see value in doing that, because I think if you're in a creative industry, in my advice, in my opinion, I don't think you need to study to do that and study how to be creative. If you're creative...
You're creative.
Correct.
Yep.
You don't need to be taught how to be creative.
Yep.
Find an industry where you can get work experience and then work your way up. That's I guess I was a big believer of that.
Well, we'll probably dive into that a bit more, because a lot of this focus, guys, the reason I wanted Michael on the show is to talk about marketing and how you've leveraged social media and a unique style to sort of get eyeballs to look at the properties you're selling.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that's creative within itself, isn't it? Like,
correct.
What you've done is very unique.
Oh, 100%, and we'll chat about that a bit later, but I think if early on in my career, going from houses to apartments, that was a massive shift.
Yep.
Because I had to know, and the biggest thing, I was 18 at the time, going up against agents in areas that had 30% market share. They knew everything, I knew nothing. So how can I beat them? Is outwork them.
Yes.
And 2, be more available for people. And 3, use your disadvantages to your advantage. Mine was my age.
Yeah, who's going to listen to some 18-year-old kid
Correct.
with expensive, any property, let alone an expensive property?
Yeah. So and that was the biggest thing. So my approach to that was like, guys, I've got more time than these people. So end of the day, I've got no wife, I've got no kids, I've got no mortgage to pay, I've got no pets. I've got no partner. The only thing I need to focus on is my career and clients right now.
Yeah,
and George,
nice.
If you call me at 12 o'clock at night, I can guarantee, guess who answers?
Yeah, wow.
And some people tested me. And that got me the business.
Really?
Some people literally tested me and called me at 12 o'clock, and I said, did you call the other person? They said, I have. And I said, great, how'd they go? I said, didn't respond.
Yeah,
And
wow.
I said, do you want me to come sign the paperwork tonight or wait till tomorrow? So I used to use that because I knew I could outwork everyone.
Became your strength.
Correct.
That was like your unique point of difference.
Yeah. And it's like anywhere in business, you overcome objections. And earlier on, I learned to overcome objections because I had no backup plan. Moving from Yeppoon to Brisbane with $240 in my bank account, there was no way going back.
Yeah, literally.
And I knew nothing. Like I stayed with my auntie and uncle out of Fig Tree Pocket. Used to drive from Fig Tree Pocket all the way to Nunda each day.
Yep.
Couldn't afford to go through the toll. So I had to take about an hour and a half to get there. And like I had no friends in Brisbane either. So going from something, all I had to do is focus, and it was hard. But then going forward into Kangaroo Point with Simon and the team, I went from knowing, I guess, and that was, so there's 2 points. One, outworking everyone.
Yep.
And two is gaining more knowledge in people without them realising.
Explain more about that.
So
Because outworking, that makes sense. You just keep working.
Correct.
Yeah.
They would be very knowledgeable, but I knew sales in particular suburbs going back for 18 months. So I studied all of the sales. So when I was talking about it to clients, one, my objection of my age being too young didn't matter because I had knowledge going back from 18 months.
Yeah.
The second thing to that is I knew every single street in all the suburbs I was servicing. So I used to focus on Geelong, which is I used to...
North side,
I used to sell like $400,000 houses.
Yep.
And then I don't know what they're worth now, probably 800 or something. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But then going from that, I used to know every single street from back to front.
What, would you just drive up and down these streets or like look on a map? Or
Walked because we were prospecting, dropping letters. I used to zone it in 4 different areas and basically break it down that I knew every single every single street name in the suburb. So I used to go through the alphabet, and in my pitch I would say, George, I know the streets better than anyone else, and I could also go back to all the data in the last 18 months as to why your property's worth this. And how I'd say that is that going through the alphabet, A for Akaroa, B for Bateman, C for Copperfield, D for Delaware, E for Ellison, G for Gurla Road. These are all street names in Geelong.
Would you literally see like the vendor just going like, whoa, this kid knows his stuff.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's like, because I don't have sales, one, I would outwork people.
Yeah.
Two, I would show I'm actually a lot more knowledgeable than what they actually think.
Yeah.
And three, I would show them. So that was the 3 key points. So then going into Kangaroo Point, I had to know apartments. So
totally different game, right? Totally different game.
Didn't know what a body corporate was. My first sale,
wow.
My first ever sale in Kangaroo Point, like Simon went away first. I was working alongside Simon. I went away for 3 weeks with him and Courtney.
So for those that don't know, Simon's the director of the office that you work in.
Correct.
Yep. And your mentor as well, right?
Yep. And even from that standpoint, he went away with Courtney, his wife, for 3 weeks.
Yep.
I was in his business for 2 weeks, and he said, "Here's my phone." And anyone knows Simon, his phone does not stop. So, and that's the thing, but I had to learn to sink or swim. And at that moment, I made a change to go into a different marketplace I didn't even know. I didn't even know where Kangaroo Point was. Like, I truly didn't. And then going from that a few years ago, it's crazy to see where we are now. But I think going back to that, if you didn't throw me in that position, I had to perform. Otherwise, I was sinking.
Man, correct me if I'm wrong, but I have this memory. It must have been maybe 4 years ago or something. You sold a place in, I'm pretty sure it's South Bank, where Lower River Terrace and Upper River Terrace, you go through this little S-bend street, and you sold a unit in there. And I remember it was for crazy money. It might have been like
4.2.
Yeah, I was going to say 4 or 6 mil or something. That one. And you would have been pretty young then, right? Like 18 or something.
I was 19. 20.
Okay, so 20. So still super young. That's the first time I remember seeing you on social media.
Yep.
Because you did a post about it. And I remember going, man, who's this Michael Bacon guy? So you still didn't really have a profile then, did you? No, but that was a big sale.
Correct. But it's also before, like, that's probably worth 6.5 now. Like,
how'd you get that sale? Was that off the back of Simon and Court being away, or something you found yourself?
It's a good point. So was
that your first big sale, by the way?
No.
Okay.
So going back a few steps.
Yep.
There was actually, that's a good point, because that was why Simon and Courtney were away. So I went there and pitched the business to someone that's been in Simon's team for 2 weeks.
Yeah, wow. Who they've never heard of you. No one knows who this Michael Bacon bloke is.
I went there and pitched the listing and signed it up.
Yep.
And it was like a $30,000 marketing campaign. 2 weeks in the business, going from selling $500,000 houses.
Yep.
To something else to that. But it's also off the back of that. It's because I had a point to prove to a lot of people. And that's always a big thing to start off. A lot of people said, I can't do it. I'm too young in real estate. And that was my biggest driver, even friends and family. Got out of school, oh, don't do real estate, do it later. And back then when I started, it wasn't a big industry for young people.
Correct.
It was a very male-dominated industry who people have been doing it for 20 to 30 years. And going up against, and I guess going against the norm, that's what drove me the most. It's like going, if anyone's seen, I think it's The Last Dance by Michael Jordan.
Yep.
And I loved watching that because he talks about that every game, he would cop so much crap.
Yes.
All the media impressed people. And the next game, he played 3 times better.
Yeah.
And that's a thing that drove me every time. People telling me I can't do something.
Which makes you want to do it more, hey?
I just say sucked into you because you've lost already.
Yeah.
So and that's around there by mindset. But I think going
it's like that's a winning mindset, isn't it?
Correct.
Like I truly believe in the power of positivity with everything I do. Like I hate negative people. I hate negativity. I'm sort of a bit allergic to it. I don't even want to be in the same room.
Yeah.
I guess being profoundly positive and having a winning mindset, they go hand in hand. Like if you think you're shit, you're not going to...
You are going to be shit.
Yeah, especially when you're representing like prestige agents like, you know, say Simon's away and you've gone to do this pitch.
Yep.
If you thought you sucked, there's no way you would have signed that place up,
100%.
right?
Yeah. If you don't believe in yourself, no one else is going to believe in you. And that's always a big point to people too. And it's like going back to that, the first deal I ever did was in Lambert Street for $640,000 in Simon's team in an apartment. And mind you, I didn't know how body corporates worked. I didn't know how any of that worked. And the first deal, you'll love this, I think you already know this because I told you about it, is I signed the contract up, they had tenants in place, and I crossed the tenants out for an owner-occupier to move in. So in the contract, I said, congratulations, you bought the property, we don't want tenants, great, we'll cross them out in the contract, they can move out. I didn't know.
Yeah, wow.
But then
so then you had to deal with that on the back end of going, oh man, you can't just cross it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you actually have to relocate.
Simon, like, congratulations, like it was 1 a.m. in the morning, I saw the owner. It was like an hour and a half out of Brisbane. This is before DocuSign was invented.
Yeah, true.
But driving an hour and a half.
You're hustling to sign this wedding.
It was literally 1 a.m. in the morning, and he was in financial stress, so he was so grateful. And then I go back, and then someone's like, congratulations, gets the contract through the next day and reads it, and he said, are you effing kidding me? You've crossed out the tenant's details. Like, yeah, well, they don't want to be in there.
Yeah, well, I guess what does that it makes sense, right? Yeah.
But you learn from your mistakes, and that was a big thing, and that taught me to be very diligent. So I'm very OCD and diligent now, but also that I didn't get paid my first commission because that went to the tenant to move out.
True, you had to redirect those comms for relocation fees for them. Yeah. There was a lesson.
100% I learned from it. But then off that, I started to prove a point. I said it was 2 things. One, I wanted to get more high-end listings. The next one I got was Pixley Street, Kangaroo Point. It was on the market with another agent, couldn't sell it. We sold it in 3 weeks at auction for 4.2 million. Then off the back of that, we sold one in beforehand, which is for 4 million. Sold it 24 hours before auction for $4 million. And then off the back of that sale, I got another one in the same building, which is a penthouse for 4.2.
Momentum. Yeah, that's...
I think I sold 7 in that one building, and there's only 30 odd apartments in that complex. Okay,
so you've gone from sub 500k, you're now playing around the 4 mil mark.
Yep.
Like everyone knows Laidlaw. Is that your biggest one, the 12.5 mil?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big boy. Yep. Like I went and watched that auction to support you. Mate, was there a jump from 4 point something to 12, or like how did you get to 12?
It was in between, right? Because I went from dominating a marketplace to now dominating a price point. So I've gone from being a very volume-based agent
in, like, say, Kangaroo Point.
So
that was
Kangaroo
your region.
Point in particular.
Yep.
My average sale is like 600k.
Okay.
Yes, you get the occasional higher-end ones which come up.
Yep.
And it did help having the support of Simon in the team because he's at the forefront of all those higher-end transactions.
Yep.
But from that point, I just leveraged. So, and I think it was like 6 to 8 months, I become the number 1 agent in Kangaroo Point. From a $100,000 sale, which turned into 6 $100,000 sales. This one building which had $100,000 studio apartments.
Wait, you could buy a studio for 100k.
For 20
What year? What year was this?
Oh,
roughly
6 years ago, maybe.
Wow!
But keep in
So
mind,
you could buy a studio for 100 grand.
It's 21 square meters, so it's tiny.
Whoa!
Yeah.
No car park.
No car park.
Just 21 square meters.
21 square meters. It's back in the day when people would have 4 bunk beds and rent it out for like $600 a week.
Yeah, righto.
And you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, right.
But for example,
get in trouble for doing that stuff.
You get only 12, 13%. So from one on the market that I approached, it turned into 6 sales in one building and 6 listings to my name. Then the $4 million sale, there's 7 listings. Then the $650,000 sale, there's 8 listings that we sold in the area. And
Yep.
within 6 to 8 months, people that have been doing that area for literally 10 to 30 years have had 18 to 20% market share. And within that 6 to 8 months, we had close to over 30%. And I was the number one agent within that area. But it's also using the same method from getting more knowledge than everyone else. I didn't have to know the street names. I had to know the building names. I had to know who built it. I had to know how many apartments are in the building. So it's going from more knowledge from street names now to buildings. So I used to nominate in different areas. If you're off the Story Bridge, 3 of the buildings were built by Frasers. You got Younger Bar House, which has 10 residences in there. That was built in, I think it was 2003 or 2007. Then they built next door. So just off Holman Street.
You know your stuff in
correct.
the area.
So
You're the suburb expert. You know these buildings. You know who built them. You know how many units are in there, what they're selling for. Yeah. And then I guess people probably pretty quickly forget your age when they can go on realestate.com, look at your profile and say, okay, this bloke sold, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, 50 properties in this suburb. He obviously knows what he's doing.
Yeah. And I think the best year from that, from being a very volume-based business,
Yes.
I got to 96 sales in the 12 months.
Okay,
that
so
we
2 a
turned over.
week.
Yep. So 96 sales. And then basically from that, I stopped and went into the higher end.
And
So
was that a
that's-
strategic decision? Like you said, I want to try and get to the higher price point. Not I
Correct.
want to try, I will get to the higher price point.
Yep.
Yep.
And it's like, and I always, Ryan Serhant's a big name in the real estate industry.
Saw him at AREC this year.
Yeah, he's
Killer.
phenomenal. But
Yeah.
he talks about who is future you.
Yes.
And I love that because then when he starts talking about that, it made me think, I said, okay, going back to that moment when I was doing those apartments, who is future me? Do I want to keep doing apartments? I'd have to grow my team to probably have 4 to 5 people on the team.
Yep.
We probably could be doing close to 200 transactions now, to
Yep.
be honest, if I kept dominating the marketplace there.
Yes.
Because it's high turnover, it sells a lot quicker. Sometimes it is easier to deal with those apartments. But for me, I had a vision that I wanted to change and get into the higher end price point because there's no one doing it at a young age.
True.
And this is the thing, I wanted to keep pushing the bar in the industry that was going against all odds.
Let's wrap up this because I want to move on to that more because this is where the social media stuff comes in and these unique points of difference that I think show your excellence in our industry.
Yep.
So let's just close the loop on getting yourself up to the $12.5 million sale.
Yep.
Yeah, just help me bridge that gap and then we'll move
Cool.
on.
Going to Laidlaw, so changing from apartments to higher end.
Yes.
I knew I had to approach people at the higher end. And there was a property for sale for 29 Laidlaw with another agent for a year and a half. Had no success. I was like, okay, I know one client who's gone through there
Yep.
and they don't like it. So I said, you know what? If I want to get in the higher marketplace, what's the highest listing on the market at the moment? It's 29 Laidlaw Parade.
Wow, like the highest.
Yep.
Yep.
So
Okay.
I went and DM'd the builder. So
On
the builder-
Instagram?
Yep, on Instagram.
Okay.
I didn't know who the builder was. He didn't know me at the time either. There's no conversations prior to it.
Cool.
So I literally just said
So you're
to him,
prospecting on Instagram.
yeah, I said,
Cool.
hey mate,
Yep.
how are your clients going? So
Yep.
it's not his house. I said, how are your clients going for sale of 29? And I think his response was, shit, I'm glad the owners are listening to me now because they weren't getting the response previously. And I told them to take it off the market and change a new agent. And I
Right.
said, great. And I said, how many people have they had through? He said, 4. I said, that's interesting because 1 out of the 4 is my client. And then he said, what's your number? And he called me.
Wow.
So he knew about it. So by him,
So you opened the
talking
door
to
up
him,
that
and
way.
I said, hey,
Yeah.
I know this client. He said, oh, they're interested. I said, mate, they're not. It's too small for them.
Yep.
And like that one client now probably sold 7 to 11 listings for. So not the builder. The builder also has been about 7 to 8 transactions from his network.
Yep.
But the other client that was interested in buying that,
Yep.
I've done quite a lot from. But even from that point, that got me in the door. He said, great, I'll let the owner know. The owners called me that afternoon. Hey, Michael, would like to meet this week.
Great.
And I'm like, holy shit, this is amazing. But I've literally had no idea. And I was like, hey, I can take Simon. And I was like, do you know what? I don't need Simon. I've got my own approach.
How do you think to do? So this is obviously off your own back.
Yep.
Like you just thought, I'm just gonna whatever. Like, what's the worst that'll happen? I'll just DM this bloke.
Yep.
Did you feel the same gaps that you had when you were, say, a young agent?
Yep.
It's the same thing, right? It's on the next level. You're
I
now.
think I was 23, 24 when I sold that house.
So you're young. You also don't have exposure with $10 million plus sales. Like, I guess if you bought into all those limiting beliefs of like, oh, I've never done this, I'm young, no one knows me.
You're not going to do it.
You never would have messaged the guy.
Correct.
So you hand on heart thought, man, I can sell this guy's house.
Yep.
Even though I've never sold a $12 million house before.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you got to think about something different. And that's, I think, the only limitations that people get in front of them are those that you set in your own mind.
Well, mate, how old are you now? 26?
26, yep.
26. Some people haven't even kicked off their real estate career,
Yep.
and you've already like elevated yourself
Yeah.
just from positivity and grunt work. I mean, you've worked your butt off. I'm sure when you were selling those 500k units, letterbox drops, cold
everything,
calls,
everything,
and
yeah.
that doesn't stop, right? It's probably just a bit different now.
Correct, yeah. It is.
Because you've got a profile. Do people just ring you and say, hey, Michael, I want you to come to my house?
A lot of it, there's a number of things. Like there is a lot of call-ins now.
Yeah.
But it's still, you can't let the rest of your business slow down. So it's about consistency of keeping the rest of it up. But going into law, like I was up against 2 agents that sell predominantly all of the riverfront properties.
Yep.
They've been in the industry for years. They pitch for the business as well. And I just had a different approach. It's going back to the knowledge factor. I knew more about that house than anyone else that went through there. Because I asked the builder, can you send me the plans? Can you send me all the materials list? So before I went in there, I was studying the house for a week, and I was studying every single property that sold for the last 2 years, over 10 million on the riverfront. And not many people know that. So when I was going into my pitch, there's 2 things I used to my advantage. One, the first thing, well, it's also, I like breaking the ice with people.
Yes.
So I'm very easygoing, regardless of who it is, if they're worth over $1 billion, where I've got a couple of clients that are billionaires,
Literally.
or if they're a first-time buyer, I'm exactly the same. It doesn't matter. And I think the first thing I said to him, I was wearing like a green suit, which looked like a picnic rod. And the first thing he said, oh, Michael, nice to meet you. The first thing I said to him, oh, it's great, nice to meet you too. And then Tish, the owner, she said, oh, I love your suit, Michael. I said, oh, it's awesome, isn't it? Because if I go on a date later tonight, I can take it off and use it as a picnic rod. So it's like something so quick, but like that.
You're just a human.
Correct.
Just a normal
break
guy.
down the aspect, and I always say that. So don't be an agent, be a human. So it's a big thing that I always run by. It's also tell the team a lot of that. But going in there, I knew everything about the house. Oh, I love the chandelier. That was like 36,400, wasn't it? Oh, it was. It was from here.
It's the same strategy, mate, as before.
Correct.
You
and
know your stuff.
It's the same
thing.
House.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. So knowing the knowledge, you're going to outsmart people. And then when I went in there, I said, you know what? It's starting to become a digital era. So that was the shift in the last 2 years where I've started saying, hang on, this is happening. We need to adapt to it. And sold them on more of a social media front. Saying, guys, my reach. And back then, I only probably had 15,000 followers, which doesn't mean a lot in the scheme of things because it's about the engagement you get. But then by using a different creative approach, I said, guys, we need to do this. And it took about 2 weeks to hear back from them. And I thought, you know what, I kept updating
it went
them.
cold.
They said, we'll come back to you, we'll come back to you, we'll come back to you. But every time I called for a reason. My biggest thing I hate is when people are calling and they say, hey, George, I'm just calling to touch base.
Mate, I'm busy. I don't want to hear.
Why are you touching my base?
Yeah.
No, like legit. Hey,
We're all
George, I'm
busy.
just calling because of this. Okay, awesome. Every time you
add value,
regardless of conversation, don't call to say how. Like if someone calls me, hey, how's your day going? I don't care. What do you want? Get to the point. And that's probably the biggest thing. And then that got me in the door. And then again, going from that $12.5 million sale, no one's ever done an auction over 10 million in Brisbane at that time. The highest sale was 8.4 million, which is on the river. I think it was in Hawthorne. And I said, you know what? Let's do a soft launch. And then if we get no traction, we're taking it to auction. They didn't want to do auction. I said, guys, you need to trust the process. And I said, during that time, that was actually one of the toughest times of my life, because I was going through a lot of personal stuff and people didn't realise that.
I had no idea.
And exactly. And I had an auction where I had 7 registered bidders. The bidding started for 8.5 and went to 11.5 million. We didn't sell it on the night, but 2 weeks after we sold it for 12.
So an extra $1 million.
Yep.
Okay.
And the thing was the process. If you saw me the auction night, there was 187 people that came through. If you weren't a buyer, I wasn't talking to you.
Well, mate, I was there with a couple of our builder mates, town planner mates, and I think I gave you a wave, and I'm like, man, this guy's busy. This is the biggest moment of your career. Like, I just wanted to watch.
But then from that, the biggest thing is like, getting that sale, but it's about the leveraging. So for me, I stopped selling apartments at a lower price point, and that's where Chris came into the team to help out on that. And I made that decision. If I'm going to change again, it's basically starting real estate from scratch again is literally what I did, which is risky.
Yeah, because it's a whole different group of people, isn't it? Whole different profile.
Took about 3 steps
It's Michael Bacon, the prestige agent now.
Took 3 steps back, now I'm 6 steps in front. So that's the mentality I always thought. And it's just like, who is future me? What do I want to be known as, and what does that look like? I don't want to be known as selling all the apartments. I want to be known as selling the higher end properties and the new build. So that started leveraging a lot, and now a lot of the stuff that we're doing, like an average sale price, I think it's like 2.5 million at the moment. So going from 500,000 to 2.5 in 2 years is a big jump.
Well, mate, I've got to read this and then we'll jump into the next section.
Yeah.
You don't know about any of this, by the way, for listeners and viewers.
Oh, great.
So your online gamer name is Michael Bacon and Eggs. Please confirm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is?
Yeah.
I'll just guess that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add there?
Close. No, actually, mine used to be Macon Bacon, to be honest.
Very fitting, making
Yeah,
bacon.
yeah.
You handled that one well, mate. Good job. All right, let's move on. All right.
I was like, what?
He wasn't expecting that. All right, so unique marketing approach. You're getting some of the best exposure in Queensland real estate
Yep.
online, not necessarily on realestate.com, using other methods. Tell us a bit more about that.
I think that this is a quote that I love.
Yep.
So a lot of people look at me and laugh because I'm different. But I look at those people and laugh because they're all the same.
Purple
Simple
cow.
enough.
Purple cow,
Yeah.
mate.
Exactly.
Yep.
And this is the thing, and I love that quote.
Yeah, that's
because
great.
that is the best way to sum me up. I copped a lot of shit and a lot of hate from what I was doing, but I had a goal and a vision on where I wanted to go. And like I've grown from, I don't know how much it was, like from having so many followers now, over 80,000 followers, which in my opinion doesn't mean anything. It's about the engagement and the content and what you produce in it. And it's also learning to adapt and evolve. People that have been in industries for years, I don't know how to do that. Great. Find someone that does and hire them. People just create excuses. And I think because the format of social media at the moment is so big, like I reckon down the track, I always say it's a digital footprint. If people search up me, I'm not sending them my realestate.com profile. I'm sending them my Instagram. That is my digital business card.
Yeah.
And people look at that.
You can scroll, look at all these homes, look at all these
100%.
unique marketing strategies.
100%. You look at so many, I guess, industries. If you go to a cafe, if you go to a restaurant, what do people, they don't go to Google. Hey, I want to go look what food they've
Nah,
got.
straight to Instagram.
I'm going to Instagram or TikTok.
Yep.
Oh, it looks great. Let's go there.
Yep.
They don't Google. And the thing with Google, if people start searching Google, it's not authentic anymore. TikTok and Instagram is real. The reason why...
Behind the curtain.
Well, correct, but it's not sponsored ads. When you go to Google, you type in a restaurant near me. There'll be 5 or 6 at the top.
Yeah, they're
because
paying for
people
friends.
are paying to get rankings. That doesn't work anymore. You're looking at social media. You type in best restaurant near me, best restaurant Newstead, best restaurant Brisbane City. The most authentic ones are going to come up. And it's like people, and it baffles me to think people actually Google stuff. Well, people that would Google stuff, people go to TikTok now, which is crazy. But do you know what the best thing is? And I was saying this advice to my sister, who's a lot older than me. She's got 2 kids. They're going to Bali for one of their family friends' getaway. And they're like, okay, well, what's the best places? I look on Google. It's all this rated stuff. I said, Steph, the best thing to do is go to TikTok. And I sent her some pages. She's like, that's amazing because it's people's real reviews that they're giving on certain like resorts to take the kids to a place in Bali.
Yes.
So I'm like, hey, I would trust that more than a paid ad that people are saying we're the best when realistically they're not.
Mate, look, it goes... I don't want to jump too far down this rabbit hole. Anyone that knows a bit about Empire and myself knows that we're super passionate about this.
Yep.
I call it like paying for friends. A real life example is we've been working together for probably 4 or 5 years, something around that time frame. Mate, never paid you one referral fee, not $1.
Yep.
It's because you trust us to do a good job.
Correct.
And I'm sure I can guarantee, and it's probably better to hear it from your mouth, you get hit up every week with conveyancers going, oh, we'll give you $100, we'll give you $100, we'll give $50 per deal.
Yep. It's not
Can you
worth
just
it.
elaborate on that for like 30 seconds quickly? I don't want to
Yeah.
derail what we're talking about, but I think it's super important to what you just raised.
100%. Well, I think that's so important because it's like, it's a good marketing tactic. So people do that to offer incentives. The same with businesses. I get what they're doing, but at the same time, I couldn't care less about what people offer me. If you offer me 5, 10 grand for it, awesome, cool. I don't care. Look after the client, we'll look after you. And that's how it should be. It's similar to like an old gentleman's agreement, basically.
Yeah.
And that's the way I approach a lot of things. Some people will take the deal.
Of course.
But 9 times out of 10, they're not going to be a good business operator because if they're always taking for a better deal, they're not loyal to people. And if you're loyal to people, you get a lot further in life. And sometimes it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And the more that you can cherish on those relationships, you'll get a lot further.
It's relationships and it's trust, right? Like, I look at the relationship we've got, and mate, the reality is if it wasn't built as a real relationship from us doing an excellent job for your clients, if it was because we gave you $100 and then conveyancer XYZ across the road door knocks you and says, oh, hey, Michael, I'll give you $150, we could lose all of your business overnight.
Correct.
Whereas we deliver a good experience, and you don't care in the big scheme of things. $100 to a prestige agent selling $10 million properties, even a normal agent selling 500k units. If you do the stats on the math of that $50 or $100, it doesn't even hit the sides.
Correct.
It's more important for us to get your deal settled, right?
Yeah. And it's also because you got the honest conversations with each other. So if I don't agree with something, George, I'll be honest with you and you tell me, hey, mate, I don't agree with that. And because you've got that relationship, you can have those honest, tough conversations.
Yes.
So there might be circumstances like, oh, George, what's a go here? And you'll run me through it. Or be like, hey, Bacon, you shouldn't have done that correctly. You need to do this. Great. And that's what it's about, because those people that are offering you $100, you won't be able to get a hold of them.
Yeah, correct. And when
$100 turns into a lot more money where you're in negative instead of positive.
Your deal falls over or whatever. Yeah, exactly. And what I love about the relationship we have is you let me be the lawyer. We've got so many other agents that try and micromanage or tell me what I'm going to do. Well, mate, the reality is I work for my client. Like, at the end of the day, I appreciate you saying we're good at our job, but no offense, I don't work for you. I work for my client, and that's my job. So you will say to the client, go talk to the lawyer and let him sort it out. It allows...
Stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane. I don't tell you how to sell $10 million houses because I don't know.
Correct. And that's the thing. People that try and micromanage can change a lot. And I think it's also because if you know what you're very good at, it's like when I go to clients, hey guys, I'm very good at my job. I say that to people.
Yeah, nice. People would think that's arrogant.
But it's not.
But it's true.
But, hey guys, I'm really good at my job, and this is what I do best. And this is why I recommend this process. The power of saying that, one, you show you're confident. Two, you know that you're good at shit. And three, guys, just let me focus on doing my role. You've employed me for a reason. Same thing with a conveyancer or a lawyer. The same scenario is like, you've reached out to me to help, and I'm helping. Let's find a common ground and find a solution rather than micromanaging people backwards and forwards. And you're getting resistance like this, and you're not going anywhere. But then when you learn to deal better with people's relationships, you can get a lot further. And that's why you need to trust in the people that you've got on your bus. I always talk about this. You have the right people on your bus, you're going to be a long way. George is on my bus because he looks after all the conveyancing for me and all my clients. That's it. George is on my bus, I trust him. If someone that you don't trust is on your bus, get them off your bus and find someone else that you can trust. Simple as that.
Winning team. And you're all going in the same direction.
Yeah,
rock on.
Yeah.
I just got one more thing to add, and then we'll just finish about this, using social media. So, Michael, you are known within your circles for your catchphrase, I guess. What are you guessing?
Don't know. That's a good question. I always just say,
I think about it all the time. You just say, I guess. I'm like, what are you guessing about, mate?
Don't know. That's just something I always say. I think it's a delay tactic. So a lot of times if I don't know an answer to something, I just say, I guess, and it breaks the ice, and then I can just change the conversation to something.
This guy is actually a master negotiator. I know you don't talk about it much, but it's a huge part of obviously what you do in real estate. There's a lot of science behind the way you do your negotiations, hey?
Yeah, there is.
And maybe we'll car park that for another time, because I think that could almost be a whole topic in itself, because I know we've had offline chats about that.
We'd literally study a bit more into psychology.
Yeah,
that's helped me a
lot.
What
around what the buying process?
I haven't got a psychology degree or anything like that, but that's something that really interests me, because the more you learn about the different people you're dealing with, personality traits. I know what a personality trait is. I know how to adapt different people's personalities. It's not being manipulative, but it's being smart on the people that you're dealing with. Regardless of who they are in any situation, I can assess that. I've assessed people like getting divorces without them telling me. So I've assessed a lot of things.
Based off questions?
The more questions you ask. Body language is a massive thing. People's interacting, and you throw curveballs at people to see how they react. Pausing in conversations are a massive thing. So there's so many things. And the way that my brain is wired now is because I constantly learn every morning for an hour. I break it up in one interval. So I've got 20-minute intervals.
Oh, so you do that every morning? You'll have a learning block?
Yep. So 20 minutes of exercise. Which typically would go closer to 30 to 40. Then 20 minutes of wellness. So that's where I jump at the sauna and the cold plunge. 20 minutes of learning. So I can't read because I'm ADHD. So I'll read one page and forget about it. But then I listen to a book called Headway. It's a thing called Headway where they summarize books in 15 minutes.
Great.
And on my notes on my phone, I want to listen to 150 books by the end of the year, up to 21 at the moment or something. But I've summarised so many key points off.
So you're getting the key lessons condensed in like a 15-minute lesson.
And that's the way that I learn. But even for that, it's just like that has changed a massive thing by breaking that knowledge part. But I always say this to people, it's like a game of chess, right? in my mind, in every conversation I'm going into, I'm probably 5 to 10 steps ahead of you without you realising. And that's the way that you need to treat your mind. We won't dive into negotiation, but that's another part. Start thinking.
Like you already know down the path.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if George is going to say this, I'm going to say this. If this
Yeah.
is going to happen, then this is going to happen. I've gone through every solution in my mind without the people realising.
And the objection handling.
Correct.
It's just because you've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times.
But it's also you need to learn.
Craft.
Every time you need to learn, but the more you learn about things, the more knowledge you're going to get. So that's interesting. But sorry for digressing, but going back to like a lot of the social presence,
Yeah.
a lot of my business comes from social media.
Yes.
And it's also going back a few years ago where it used to be awkward direct messaging people that you don't know.
Yeah.
It's the normal now. Don't be afraid to get into the DMs. The amount of business that I've got from doing that, $12.5 million property, DMs. Quade Cooper's house, well-known player,
Yep. Yep.
DMs.
You DM'd him.
Yep. I didn't think he was going to respond to me. He didn't, but he saw it. And this is the thing. A lot of people I chat to, like I've tried approaching Kevin Rudd 7 times.
Wow.
He's seen every single one of my message. I don't care he hasn't responded.
But he knows who he's at least probably clicked on your profile.
He knows
and
who I am.
Knows who you are. Yeah.
I don't know if he does or not, but you would assume so because he's read every single message. They don't have to respond as long as they're getting the point across. And gradually over time, it's more of a psychological thing. It's like saying, hey, George, how many yellow cars have you seen on the way to work today or way to this podcast room?
I don't know, none.
Great. So
Yeah.
I can guarantee after this, tonight, all you're going to be thinking about is a yellow car. So if I said, hey, George, if I give you $100 for every yellow car that you see today, what's your focus on?
Yeah.
The yellow car, because it's an opportunity. So you focus on opportunity. So when people start seeing that, it's repetition over time.
Yep.
But with a lot of the social stuff, I think the biggest thing is being creative and be yourself. People try copying my videos. That's cool. That's awesome. Good luck to you.
That's actually a compliment, mate. We have the same thing with us where we'll post something and something super similar or similar colour schemes.
Yep.
And, you know, we just take that as a compliment now going, we're actually at the frontier of what we're doing.
Yep.
And you are too. I mean, I think now it's becoming more common for everybody to do what Michael Bacon was doing years ago.
Yeah.
Right?
But it is. And
It
it's
is.
just like, there are some other good agents and people in the industry that are just doing something different. But there's so many ways. And do you know what the funny thing is? I had a presentation with the team last week about marketing.
Yep.
And everyone's
With your
faces,
team?
Yep.
Yep.
With the whole office.
Oh, with your office.
So,
Okay. Yep.
So everyone's reaction, I think out of the last 7 videos that went viral, so we gained, like one of them got over 1 million views, consistently 150,000 views per property on one video. So we constantly do 3 or 4 videos per property. But all of that got millions and millions of views, and not one of them was my original idea.
Tell me more.
So you probably didn't realise that either. Every single idea that I've had
Yes.
has been replicated or similar to something else that someone else has done.
Huh.
That's how easy it is. They see, oh, Michael's
So
creative.
you don't need to reinvent the wheel.
you
This
don't
has
need to
already been done.
correct.
You're like, I can do that.
Yep,
But what,
think
are
of
we
your own
talking
concept.
outside of real estate or even within
Everything.
real estate? Like it might have
Nothing to
been.
do with real estate. So like I'm the first real estate person to do that, but it can be anything. You can adapt anything. And this is why it's like, and I started getting people's creative juices flowing because people think, oh, it's easy for Michael because he's creative and he thinks outside of the box. Anyone can do it.
Well, mate, look,
And that's the reality of it.
I am the most not creative person ever. I'm here doing a podcast. I mean, I'm not super creative. And look, behind the scenes, we've got my social media manager sitting over there. But yeah, mate, I'm here and I'm doing it.
Someone to help.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. And it's also
and
all of those
no other
videos-
lawyers are doing it, are they? Like I
Correct.
thought, stuff
No.
it. We'll just do a podcast and
Yeah.
we'll bring good people on
Yep.
and we'll have good conversations and we'll give out free advice and
Yep.
people will take things away
Yep.
where they go, yes.
Yeah, exactly. It might only be a couple of key points as well.
Yep.
But it's also like all those video ideas and concepts. Yes, they might be going viral.
Yes.
But that's a whole concept. And like people are starting to do that now. But I'm like, guys, I'm already 3 years in advance. here.
Yeah.
The stuff that we're doing right now is insane. Like the content team that I've got, I'm very close with them. And I'm also, every shoot, I'm directing a lot of it. So, and that's a big part of it. And that's where it's my personal touch, which is going on all the videos.
Yep.
So the video, the one in Brookfield, which got over 1 million views.
The
Right,
paper plane.
Paper plane.
Yeah,
Showing
everyone
paper
knows
plane.
about the paper plane. Yeah.
And for that was on the market with another agent. Had like 20,000 views across all of it. I said just from the coming soon video, we generated over 1 million views. It's about the engagement. We get the engagement and then we storytell with the actual property video.
Yep.
So that's how we market it. But what that video come from some UK clothing brand that came up in social and they threw a paper plane around their office. Like,
Oh, and did you just happen to see this when you were just
Happened to see it.
cruising around on?
yeah. So, and this is at
Instagram or
night time.
something.
At night time, I don't
Yeah.
research, but I go through it like, hey, what's a cool new concept? Because it's getting harder and harder to think of it. And
Yeah.
that's where I started coming up with my own touch. It's just like, hey, don't let this one fly away. Tag your friend in this one, which is me playing tag with someone at a property.
I remember that
Yeah.
one, and then there was like a throwing a ball
Yeah, so
around the
don't dro-
house.
don't
as
drop the
well.
ball on this
yeah.
one. So it's
yeah,
been
yeah,
smart
Yeah.
and creative.
Yep.
It's like, okay, what's your hook? Don't miss out. This one's going to go quick. How do we incorporate that into a video? Don't let this one fly away. Great. Don't drop the ball on this one. Meaning, don't drop the ball. You're going to miss out on the property. So everything I start doing now is completely different. Don't lag out on this one. Don't take your time to make that decision. This is a concept of being creative around the marketing.
And that's your creativity.
That's my creativity.
This isn't like the guys in the background. Do you
It's
will
a
go to
collaboration.
you'll go to your video guys and say, hey, I want to do this,
Yep.
and then you work out how to actually bring that to life.
Yeah, well, like Alex from Pixel Factory,
Yep.
like they're a gun. They actually don't really do a lot of property videos anymore. It's
True.
because they don't. And the reason why is because I really enjoy and I agree with what they're doing because their vision, they know they're creative.
Yep.
Real estate agents aren't creative, but it's not hard to be creative. Find someone that is being creative and mimic them.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yep.
Mimic my videos. You're not going to get to the same standard that we are because we're already a few
You're
years
years
in front of
ahead.
you.
Yeah, but hey,
that's fine. Give it a crack and
Yep.
see how much it changes your business and put your own spin on it. It's like so many people come up with those funny videos now that are getting engagement. It's like people get bucked off a ball and then you reenact that you're getting.
Mate,
bucked
I'm
off the
actually
ball.
so keen to do that stuff.
No,
hey?
but correct.
I want to do
is the
some of that.
easiest.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
that are doing that is the easiest way to get engagement right now.
Yeah.
And I look and
So that's a
it's not
micro
hard.
version of
Correct.
what you've done. You've done a full-on like video for a
Yeah.
prestige property. This is like a little 5-second. People
100%.
will watch it. And
Yeah.
oh, look, it's that real estate agent.
Yeah.
Share it with their friend.
And this is it's just the way where I'm going with that is completely different from everyone else because I've got my own vision. So if you're whatever business you're in, think outside the box, be creative, but also showcase how you're being creative in doing that.
Different ways to
And
do different platforms as well, right? 'Cause
Exactly right.
Insta's hot today. TikTok's hot today.
Yeah.
People might be listening to this in 5 years' time, and Instagram's dead.
Yeah, could be something different.
Yeah.
Who knows? And that's the thing. It's also like even with the engagement factor, like no one gives a shit about your followers. It matters about your engagement.
Yeah.
People can go
People
buy
can pay for followers, mate.
People can pay for
Yeah.
followers, and you can do that. And that's the same thing. Like where I elevated my business
Yeah.
is when I was at like 5,000 to 6,000 followers. I spent $1,500 US.
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't have that money. And
Yeah.
what I spent that money on was actually a shout out from a celebrity overseas.
Yeah. Okay. Like a
So
famous
people,
someone.
yeah. So this is like this basketball player,
Yep.
and I paid that, and that got me to 18,000.
Wow, off one shout out.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So
it's a whole
it's a
different world,
competition.
isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, like that's in US market.
Yeah.
So and then, but what I want, the whole goal was that not to get all these followers. I'm like, it doesn't make sense. It's to leverage that. And then Reels came out. I said, I need to be at the forefront. I've got the following now.
Yeah.
How do I keep pushing that locally? So going from that, I went to the Reels, and Alex from Pixley said, no more photos. We need to start studying that algorithms do not favor photos anymore.
Yeah, and people don't want to see photos.
Correct. Going to LinkedIn works like a gem. Videos don't at LinkedIn, but you
Yeah.
go to photos, they do. It's different. You need another market that you're trying to get to. And social media, if you're not good at it, don't use that as an excuse. Find someone like you have and find someone who's good at it and keep rinse and repeating it every single time. And the more authentic it is, the better the outcome and the better the reach is going to be.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. Like in our game, right, we can just, it's just me in my work polo having a chat about conveyancing. And when you think about lawyers, conveyancing is not the sexiest topic.
Yep.
If anything, it's sort of, for lack of a better word, it's sort of looked down upon.
Yep.
It's not really well respected because it's cheap.
Yep.
Well, then we're trying to do it in a way that everyday people have a good experience in conveyancing because it's still something that happens in people's lives all the time.
Yep.
You know, anyone buying or selling a house needs representation, and
Yep.
we want to make that a positive experience.
Correct.
And, you know,
Yep.
we're exploring video now. We're doing stuff that traditionally, mate,
People wouldn't do.
law firms would just laugh you out of the room.
Yeah.
When people do our questionnaires now, it links to our YouTube videos. It explains what's going on. Because when you were saying with video, people don't want to read like paperwork
Correct.
like this. Watch
No.
this 40-second video on the difference. Oh, okay, I'll do that on
Yeah.
the couch tonight.
But even so many
Yeah.
people, but you're showing you're actually a human being.
Lawyers
just a
are
lawyer.
human beings, guys.
Correct.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
But it's just
we
like-
have feelings and stuff.
No, but it's also
it's true, it's true.
It is. But how many clients have I said to you, like, hey George, we're asking a bit of advice. I've sent the details through. And I think one of my top clients I haven't sold, but he's got probably the most expensive property in Brisbane.
Yeah.
And he said, and I sent that screenshot to you, and he said,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and he said, oh, I actually like him. He seems approachable, funny, and real. I think that was a conversation.
Yeah.
And because he saw the content that you guys were doing.
Yep.
And no joke, I sent you that screenshot.
Yeah.
And
I was a
that,
compliment, man. I'm like, wow.
Correct.
Yeah.
And he still went back to his original conveyancer.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But at the same time, to get that feedback
it's cool.
It's crucial.
Doing something different.
In any industry, is if you're being real and you're being a human being, and if you're being yourself, you'll be a lot more adaptive to it. So.
Yeah, authenticity rings true. I think I'm learning a lot about video, and again, it's not about me, but you're Mr. Video. I've seen bloopers and stuff that you've done. You did this KFC thing actually years ago.
Yep.
You did this silly thing where you're going through drive-throughs and just saying dumb stuff. And our whole office, I stopped in our Spring Hill office, I stopped all the lawyers and I said, everyone come in here and watch this guy. And we watched your video, and I just thought it was hilarious. It had nothing to do with real estate, but mate, think about your marketing strategy. People know who you are.
Correct. And this is the thing, it's getting, and this is what I said to the team last week. I said, with the marketing, and that's the thing, I said, I laugh at people that are the same, and I are all the same, and then people laugh at me because I'm different. I keep nailing down that because it's a massive point.
Yeah.
So, and that's a big thing. But the second thing is how do you want people to know you without knowing your name?
What, like your reputation, you mean? Or like
how do people know
you
without knowing your name? If you don't know my name, how do people know me?
Yeah,
people used to know me as but they used to know like Mr. Bacon. It makes it easier that my last name's there. Mr. Bacon, people know me as.
Yeah.
The KFC guy.
Yeah, true.
And the guy that sells that high-end property.
Yeah.
That's what I'm known for, without knowing my name.
Yeah.
But the KFC guy, that came from doing apartments. And back then, it was a tough market. So, taking 90-odd days to get one person through to buy a property that they're losing $200,000 on it from when they bought it off the plan. They were losing a shit ton of money.
Not and sexy like now where the market's hot.
And so many people, real estate is so easy now because one, the prices are increased, which means for agents, they get paid more through commission. The second thing is, it was sitting on the market for 2 to 3 weeks for an apartment. Back then, we're constantly grinding.
90 days you're saying to get someone
week,
through.
One person through in 90 days to sell it. And that's when back then I said, I need to do something creative. Because across the road from KFC, I did a video throwing away $500 for a KFC gift card. They got 7 news articles out of it, and that's what my approach was. And
people, cheapest $500.
People start laughing, like, oh, look at this KFC guy. But again, people started knowing me without knowing my name. Hey, you're the KFC guy. I went into a building page where people were like, oh, the KFC guy's downstairs.
Really?
Which is hilarious. But I'm like, I laugh at you guys because now all of you know me. I don't care how you know me, but you know me as a KFC guy. So it's like, it's building a legacy for yourself, and I think I'm a big believer of that. I said, down the track, what do you want to be known for? If people don't know your name, how do they know you? And it's trying to understand that. You look at a lot of big firms like McDonald's, Nike, Red Bull. They've got no video, no photos of their products in any of their social media. Actually, I don't know if McDonald's has. I don't follow McDonald's, but you look at Red Bull. Have you ever seen a Red Bull can there? Never.
Or I think about it as like action sports.
Correct.
And like jumping out of planes and BMXing and stuff like that.
So you look at big brands, Nike, same scenario. It's people that are attached with Nike. Hey, how do you know Nike? Oh, Michael Jordan. It's a name without knowing the brand Nike.
Interesting perspective.
And
it's never been articulated to me that way before.
Correct. And it's like Red Bull. Like I'm close with a lot of Red Bull guys. So people know the names. Oh, he's a Red Bull.
You know Red
guy.
Bull people?
Yeah.
True?
Yeah. So, like a lot of people that are in like Nitro Circus and
okay. Yep.
So that are attached with Red Bull. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is know how you stand out and what's your niche. That's probably one point I would touch on. If people are laughing at you, laugh at them back because you're going to be different to them. That's the biggest thing. Don't be the same, be different.
Mate, props to you. I remember, and actually this is the last point I've got written down, so let me just read this quickly. Michael, I haven't seen you sporting a white belt since your appearance on Lords of Property several years ago. Explain. Do you still have a white belt? What's the go?
I do.
You do? Do you still wear it?
Wear it. No.
But in all seriousness, mate, people would give you stick about that.
Yep.
But you know what? We saw it in the office and we thought it was funny. We're like, oh, we know that guy. That's Michael Bacon. And you were sort of on your way up then.
Yep.
And joke's on them, mate, because everyone was talking about you.
Well, and that's a good point. I forgot about that. Like I used to have this white Louis Vuitton belt, which the belt buckle was like this big.
Yeah.
Because I had nothing else, and I couldn't find a white belt to match my shoes, and everyone I had, it was just shit.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll do this, and I copped so much shit from that white belt. but every single person used to know me because of it.
Yeah, and you had statement suits and stuff.
Different coloured suits.
Yeah.
Like, so, but
you rocked it, mate.
But the thing is, people make a joke about it. I'll make a joke about myself about it. And then they've got nothing else to say.
Yeah.
Because, like, oh, he's actually just a human being.
Yeah. I remember talking to some people a few years ago, and I'm like, wait till you meet Michael Bacon. He's just a normal dude. Yeah, he's just a normal dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that stuff was, who gives a shit what the belt is? Mate, they're talking about, joke's on them. You're selling prestige property in Brisbane. You came from Yeppoon, and you didn't even know where Kangaroo Point was.
Yeah. I still have the belt. I haven't worn it for a very long time.
I want to see the belt come back.
Yeah.
Maybe the next Empire event. Will you bring the belt?
Probably not, because that's why I have pants now. They don't require belts.
It's leveled up.
Leveled up.
Mate, just to close this out, so we ask a unique question at the end. So we're here to raise the bar. The whole point being, like we said, storytelling excellence in Queensland property.
Yep.
Putting you on the spot, what's a golden nugget for anyone that's listened to us talk about, your real estate journey, coming from the country, being a killer on social media, unique marketing, creativity? What piece of advice can you give back to the people beyond what we've already spoken about? Something that sort of pops to head that rings true with you.
I think you need to understand yourself before you try to understand other people. So that's one thing I talk about. If you don't understand yourself and you don't understand where you want to go in your own life, whatever industry you're in, and you're in an industry that can push those limits for you, if you've got no goal and if you've got no, I guess, clarity on how to get there, you're not going to get there. And it's also finding the right people on your bus. Get rid of the negative people in your life. And it's hard because they might be very close to you.
It could be family, friends.
Family, friends, but we've all been through that. Yeah. That has been a biggest thing that I've learned at a younger age is don't get the wrong people on your bus. Get the right people on your bus and you go a lot further. The only person that can change things is the person in the mirror. So if you're complaining all the time, if you're upset about something, look at yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror and change. And if you don't know how to change, ask someone to help you. I think that's the biggest thing. But regardless in business, I think one, you just got to stand out. Two, be confident what you're good at. If you're not confident, go learn more.
Yep.
And four, get the right people on your bus.
Mate, love it.
Biggest thing.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Bacon.
No worries.
For coming on the show.
That's what he stole me.
That means thank you in Greek for all those playing at home.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys.